Thank you. We're recording this event, so please click on that as well. We're recording this meeting. And thank you for being here. Please place your names in the chat for attendance purposes. We have a robust meeting scheduled today. And we do want to be able to get started as soon as the mayor joins at 8 o'clock. So we appreciate your starting a little early with us today. I'm seeing those names, so thank you very much.
Good morning, Marty.
JC, been a while. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. You know, the days start getting longer next week.
I am well aware of that and very excited. Means I can work longer.
Now you can play golf sooner.
Well, that's true too. Or later.
Or later.
Good morning, everyone. As new folks join, please place your name in the chat for attendance purposes for the recording of your presence today. Thank you for joining earlier than the scheduled time. We just wanted to make sure that when the mayor joins at 8, that we can get started right away. He's, as you can imagine, he's on a tight schedule. And we're thankful that he is going to be here today to talk about his plans and updates. So thank you very much. Aaron, I received a challenge for one of our board members in accessing the meeting. It says that the host locked it. It's Aaron Thompson. I tried to resend it to him. Could you just double check that for us, please?
Well,
Thank you.
Just got a note from Donnie's Brown. She said the exact same thing.
not on this page.
I know the meeting was forwarded again at some other point. All of you, I don't know which version of the invitation you received that was sent, but if you could resend, I tried to resend it, Sharon.
It's open.
Thank you. Great. So I'll let Aaron know too. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Happy Friday. Good morning, Mayor Scott. If everyone could sign in via the chat, that would be great. So for attendance purposes, we could move forward. Let me make sure Aaron is able to accept access. And so we'll double check, also waiting for, let me see, Jason.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
So if everyone please would sign in. I see that Mayor Scott is on. Good morning, Mayor Scott. We had asked everyone to join in and our meeting will start at 8. I think we're still having a couple of more folks join. Oh, sorry. So thank you, Maisha.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't even want to say anything.
I'm just seeing that. That's a horrible trick. That's not even
I
funny.
put Mo in just so I can
That's
kind
not
of
even
clear up any.
He doesn't know he's a member of my team,
I
and
didn't want to turn my
we
camera.
have this ongoing joke where he just puts not the mayor in all his
Look,
emails.
I didn't see, all I saw was that piece. So, all right. So
Right.
I was like, wow, he's early.
You did this the last.
You know
board
what?
meeting,
That's
I
just to
think.
make sure the blood is flowing and the heart is pumping, you know, Friday morning.
Sure.
So thank you very much. I'm alive.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Not the mayor just yet.
So could, oh, you get that a lot. So I guess if you know, just make sure to sign into the chat.
What should I put?
Put
LOED HR.
Brandon Scott, not the mayor.
That's what I usually put.
We'll get started in a little bit. If you're signing in by phone, please also put your name in the chat. And we'll also need to know who you are so that we can make sure you're assigned to a breakout room for during the meeting. So I see one phone number here. Oh, great. Great, Aaron. Did the new link work or it just opened up?
It just opened up for me, so.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Then some flashed on my screen about an update. I'm like, oh, maybe it's my fault. So I updated it. It's all
Thank you.
good.
Hey, Yariella, we do have a
Go for the
email
soup.
from
I'm not gonna make it. Look where the line is.
Jim Owens that he is locked out. I don't know if Sharon or someone can help re-forward the invite.
Well, I re-forwarded the invite. For some reason, at one point, some folks were locked out. Sharon opened it. I'm not, and Sharon is keeping an eye on that. Aaron was in that situation, and Donise, I'm not sure if Donise, I can't see just yet.
Does not-
The second link that was sent worked.
Oh, that I sent that out to everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know that I know this invitation was resent also, so I'm not sure if that had some quirkiness to it. Depends on which link, but I see Donise is on. Hey, Donise. So yeah, it's working. Thank you. So if individuals are texting members here, tell them to go to the second link. I resent the original invitation. Hopefully that one's working. Good morning. Okay.
What about it? What? On this? Need to be muted.
And so what we want to ask of everyone, please, welcome, happy Friday, happy holidays. Please sign in, and then we're going to try to manage, but if we can make sure to mute your connections, especially when we get started, so we know background noise and the like won't interrupt the mayor's presentation or the questions folks may have for the time period that we have to ask questions of him. So, thank you. Okay. So let me check. And if, for whatever the reason, if the mayor is a little delayed, we'll get started with just some very administrative items until he arrives. We'll interrupt that and then move forward with him. We have about a minute left, and I do want to make sure to start on time so we can deal with okay. So Jason, I'm not sure if it's 8 o'clock. Do you want to start? I think what we would do is maybe pick up on some of the administrative pieces highlighted at the end of the meeting, quick updates while we wait for the mayor to join. I don't know if you've heard anything from his office. I haven't checked my emails. Everything is still okay. So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Happy holidays. This is our December Baltimore Workforce Full Board Meeting. I want to thank you all for being here and happy holidays. I'm Yariella Kurdonovan, Board Chair. And we will, we're waiting for the mayor to join. However, in the interim, we will, everyone should have received the information, the meeting materials, documents, the agenda, the minutes from the previous session, and I'd like for folks, if they have a few minutes, to read those minutes so that we can call the question on approving those while we wait for the mayor to join. So I'll take, a minute or two. If someone wants to, I'll call the question, have someone pass the motion to approve, and we'll ask someone to second. And as we have new members join, or please sign in via the chat. That is our method of taking attendance. And we have just asked folks to just review the minutes. Great, thank you. Well, we'll call the question later. I've been notified that Mayor Scott has joined. Welcome, Mayor Scott.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. We know that you have a full agenda always. What we'd like to do definitely is afford you as much time as possible. You have received information about our membership, who's on our board, and we'd love for you to really share. There's some dynamic things happening in the city, and we'd love for you to just share with us from our last meeting in March, things that you think would be helpful for your board. This is your board to hear directly from you so that we can continue to partner with you and support your directives and your efforts on behalf of the city. So we'll pass the agenda over to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, and good morning, everyone. Thank you all again for serving, and thank you for being here and for allowing me to join you all this morning. I think that Ariella said it very best. This is an exciting time to be talking about workforce development here in Baltimore City. I know you guys have in your packet a lot of the things that we're doing with opera, as we've made recently the largest investment that Baltimore has ever made into work. And when I spoke to you guys the last time, I talked about us having to really, as we needed it before the pandemic, but even more so after, all of us living with this, making sure that we are preparing Baltimoreans, those who have been locked out of work, those who were too young to work, and those whose jobs are gone and are going to never come back, to be able to provide them training and upscaling their skills so that they can work in the 21st century. And that's exactly what we're doing with these investments, the ARPA investments that you have there through Train Up and Hire Up and all the programs that we have. Jason and the team and Moet have been leading in a very, very deep way, but we know that we need to do even more. And what I really am appreciative, but also asking of you, is to push us, is to think about things that we are not thinking about, is to think about how we can do this work together in ways that we haven't, because we have to continue to push ourselves to be better. If we are seeing industries that are growing or that are struggling that we know we can help people get to provide for their families, please let us know. If there are partnerships out there that you think that we can build that don't exist or strengthen or expand, please let us know. I think because this is a moment that we will never get again, to be able to invest in our people in such a significant way. And I know that even more is to come. And with this, I tell the folks all the time, ARPA really is the trial run for the big one. And that would be the infrastructure bill that's coming in, Build Back Better. If not our congressional members, but the other ones in DC get their heads out of the ground, they will know how important that is. And for us, when you think about infrastructure, which we know is coming, it's going to provide an even deeper opportunity for us to do once in a generational things for our community, right? When you think about the investments that's going to go into basic infrastructure, roads, bridges, buildings, schools, et cetera, we know that we're going to need a lot of workers. But when you think about all the other things that come with that, right? How we're going to have to be building up folks who learn and know how to do contracting and procurement and everything else. This is a great opportunity, and I want us to focus on how we maximize that for the residents of Baltimore City.
Thank you so much, Mayor Scott. And we appreciate definitely all the work, all of the efforts. It's exciting times, and there's so much great work going on. We do definitely want to make sure that we have an exchange with you. So we definitely want to open up the board meeting for questions. You can put it in the chat, or please raise your hand. We're going to be muting everyone just to make sure, again, background noise and the like does not disrupt. But if there are any questions that folks have for the mayor based on the materials that were sent, his updates, all of the notifications, and things that we've been seeing in the news, please, in regards to the great work being done with workforce development, please, please do so. And I'll ask Sharon and Chantrice to kind of also be additional eyes and ears for any hands that may go up. Marty, thank you.
Mayor Scott, thank you for being here today, and you've got a tremendous job ahead of you, obviously, in getting Baltimore back on track. But you know, I always come back to, you know, I'm president of Vehicles for Change. We've been trying to work with transportation in the city for a long time. We in 22 years, we haven't made much of a dent. I mean, we're awarding cars, but it's still a huge issue. We can't get people to work. Generational poverty is never going to stop until we can solve the transportation issue, whether it's vans, whether it's MTA, whether it's more vehicles. What are we doing? How do we do it? How do we invest in transportation? You know, I personally think it's an absolute necessity. I know the Able Foundation did some research a couple years ago, and the biggest issue was transportation still. So, I mean, how are we going to address this?
No, Marty, thank you. And let me say first that I will ensure that you hear directly from our folks at transportation, and that your inability to break through changes. So let me say that first. But I will say there's a bunch that we can do, and I'm really excited to talk about some things that have happened, right? You may have seen that my good friend Pete Buttigieg came to Baltimore for the second time a few weeks ago and announced that we are receiving a $50 million investment from federal DOT to build out our east-west bus transit corridor. That is a huge thing for the residents of Baltimore City. It's going to allow us to put in, as someone who grew up catching the bus from west to east in the morning, going up to high school, and because going from east to west, the evening was so slow, I caught the bus downtown and the subway back up. It's a big deal. It's going to allow us to put in the things that we need, right? Obviously, more dedicated bus lanes, but the signal changes, improving the bus stops, improving the fleet, working with our folks, get them to work at a much rapid pace. So that's the first thing that we're not just waiting for, but doing in partnership with our great folks there at federal DOT. And for us, as I said to Pete, Pete and I have been friends for many years, this is a huge deal, but we have to go even further. And we know that the General Assembly, you know, we passed the Transportation Investment Act last year under the leadership of Senator McCray and Delegate Learman. The governor vetoed it, unfortunately, but they handled the veto, as we know. So we know that MTA is going to get a better funding here in Baltimore. I would also say that now with the passage of this transportation infrastructure bill, our federal delegation, when I spoke with them, I said, look, one of the number one things that we can do is be able to go back to building that other transportation line. whether it be the red line or something improved, it's there. The opportunity for us to do that is there. But there are some other things that I think we can do on a local level, and you'll hear that from me. That means looking at what I have DOT looking at is looking at the circulator, and you'll hear from us about maybe doing something like having one of the routes change and simply be about a job hub circulator, taking folks from West and East Baltimore to the opportunities for jobs, be it down at the port, be it in our industrial areas, be it out at Sparrows Point and Trade Point. That's what we're going to do. And we've been talking with our partners in the private sector as DOT is doing their research, working together. And I expect, Marty, that you will hear from me about that in the not too distant future.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Mayor Scott. We have a question in the chat from
Mark Brody.
Mark Brody. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Brody, and good morning. Thank you about this. I'm glad you brought that up. We all have heard for many years. You guys probably find this funny. I was on Tom Hall's show recently, and we were talking about this 90-day intensive youth squeegee initiative that my office is running. The deputy mayors for economic development and equity and human services are co-leading that. And Tom, somebody called in and simply said like, oh, well, we should just have them all run a car wash. And Tom said, well, you've been saying that for a long time. And I just asked Tom off air. I said, Tom, how do you know that? He sent me a link from a story from 1985 in the Baltimore Sun that said just that. So I was 1 year old when the story came out. So since I was 1 year old, we have been thinking about this very complicated issue and thinking it is that simple. So what we're doing with this 90-day initiative is that we're bringing the full weight of city government, right? The deputy mayors have been out there. My Office of African American Male Engagement have taken all our agencies. MOED's been out there. We had the school system out there. We've had our partners from our behavioral health partners out there, and really intensely talking with those young men, using our fisherman concept, the folks that work in the African American Male Engagement, who have those relationships to be able to have conversations with those young men and build towards getting them employment. But as one of them said to me on President Street, who I just stopped and talked to one day when I was traveling to and fro, I asked him if he had talked to the folks from MOAM and if he, were we helping him to get a job? He just looked at me and said, Mr. Brandon, they are, but I'm not ready for that yet. They're helping me to get my mind right first before I can be able to get employment. I got to get myself healthy, as he says. I need to get myself healthy because he has some addiction issues. And that's the tough work that's going to happen in so many cases. And in addition to that, we now have employment partners like the Hilton Canopy who are stepping up to employ young folks that we send to them after we've done all the great work that Jason and folks at MOED and all the other agencies have to do. And be honest, in some cases, it is going to be a law enforcement thing, but it's not solely going to be a law enforcement thing. And it's not going to be the first reaction unless, of course, there's actually some cause for that. And it's something that we're looking for more employers to get involved in, more people to get involved in. Even the young man who saved the young lady from her car, he had the opportunity to come to my office, and he's now going to be working at DPW. Like that's the stuff that we're going to be doing to try to help with an issue that is older than me.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. Speaking of which, it sparked a question for myself, and plans for mental health support, expanding that. And I know addiction support, social work support. We know that there's a lot happening in the school systems, but then, there's still a lot of work and help that's needed in that space that I think would help with the judicial system and the roles that are going in there, and just in a lot of different ways. Can you speak a bit about that?
Yeah, and that's one of the other big investments that we've made with ARPA is into violence prevention. And for us, that's a part of violence prevention. So the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement will actually be granting out things to our partners who do that work, right? To do that trauma work, to do that behavioral and mental health work, to do that substance abuse work, so that we are really healing ourselves of these issues and preventing things from happening, not just today, but for the long term. And I think, yes, that's a different approach. And I always say to folks, like, obviously, we're going to have our police department focus on what they can do to help on things that happen immediately. But we also have to have ourselves evolve into the understanding that not every single act of violence is something that they could have prevented, right? Especially when you see you're seeing the rise in interpersonal things where people are killing their ex-girlfriends or their ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend because they broke into their bedroom window, or the unfortunate tragedy that we had in Baltimore and Howard County last week, right? That, like, as Dr. Bunley has been telling me since I was 6 years old, hurt people. And we have to start to heal people on the front end. We're looking forward to expanding that work. We've been running a big and unique 911 diversion program in the city, where we are alleviating things from our police officers, where people call into 911 who are in crisis, and they get an actual trained crisis professional, not a police officer who we don't train in that, not a fire person who we don't train in that, right? And now we're looking to expand that out because it's been going so well, and building up the organizations that can help us to do that, because it will also allow our police officers to focus on what they should be focused on. Right now, we're asking them to respond to things that, quite frankly, are not their responsibility.
Thank you so much. We have two hands up. It's John Danko.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. John Danko of Danko Arlington up in Park Heights, Pimlico. I've been here 35 years. I'm the third generation. Our company is 101 years old. And before the pandemic, we've really been struggling with attracting employees to Park Heights, Pimlico, particularly from outside the city. There's a stigma with folks living in Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, Harford County, coming into Baltimore to work. And there's just a fear factor. And we get a lot of no-shows. A lot of people say, I'm not coming to the city. So it's a great deterrence of trying to get skilled people, particularly now with labor being so tight. So the violence and crime, particularly Northwest Baltimore, is really a challenge. It's a real obstacle. Daily, we have sirens, helicopters flying over the building, and our employees are, quite frankly, scared. I'm concerned because I think some of our employees are going to bail, and they're going to go take other jobs outside of the city because of the crime. And this is really concerning to me because we're already at a critical mass here. And I'm not alone, I think, in this situation. I have other employer friends that have the same concerns. So while I have this opportunity to speak to you face to face, I wanted to bring this up because I think the workforce development initiatives that we have are great for training. We're hiring in the city. We're bringing a lot of skills to new employees, but we also need to have other investments of talent from outside the city. And it's a huge obstacle right now. Thank you.
No, Mr. Danko, I know your business very well. As you know, I grew up in Park Heights, so I probably driven past your business and just as many times I've driven past my house because I have to go past there to get there. So, and we know, I think that we know in particular, Park Heights has had this struggle. Now, I am going to what I would say, challenge you just a little bit, Mr. Danko, because I lived in that neighborhood for the first 27 years of my life and know it in a different way. What I always tell folks, and I think that, let me first say this, that we know Baltimore has been struggling with this disease of gun violence, for a long time, at least as long as I have been alive, but really longer, in particular, that neighborhood. However, if you're someone that is from my generation, you probably see it a little differently, right? Because I grew up in Park Heights in the 90s, right? So as you will remember, because you drove there, every single corner from Park Circle to Northern Parkway was a drug shop. And they have made progress, but for me, we have a long way to go. And I think what we're trying to do, not just there, but in other places, is show how we can have investment there in Park Heights. We're finally actually building up things through the master plan and things that they talked about when I was a wee kid down at Malcolm X Primary School. But the BPD has also been doing a lot of focus and, to be honest, bringing down organizations that are committing violence in Park Heights, not too far from you. For example, at Boardman and Ricestown and Cold Spring and Park Heights, even though we know some of those gentlemen are still out there. And because I grew up there, and quite frankly, I grew up with many of them, it's a dual thing, right? I can go have conversations there that no other elected official can, because these are people that essentially, in many cases, see me like family rather than being the mayor. And the conversation is twofold. It's about saying, like, yes, we have opportunities for you, but y'all, they know me. They know that if they don't take those opportunities and they continue to do what they do, then I'm going to have them removed. For example, the last time we talked, I talked about the need for us to focus on gun trafficking, and because the weapons that are fueling the violence typically are coming from outside of the city, most outside of state, and then the rest coming from other counties. Our first big gun trafficking arrest was of one of my personal friends who grew up with me in that neighborhood, right? And I think that what we have to do is to continue to battle and fight each and every day to reduce violent crime in the city. But I think the number one thing that we can do is be open and honest with people and say what is actually happening on the streets, and not allowing folks who, quite frankly, don't care about the total picture, who only are going to say whatever can sensationalize and stoke up fear, right? Because the reality, Mr. Danko, is that with the exception of murder, every category is down. Robberies, right? Especially those that you would experience in Park Heights, like carjackings and street robberies and things like that, are down 12%. That's a huge drop year over year, especially during the pandemic, and especially when you look at us in comparison to our counterparts in major cities who are, quite frankly, going the other way. And to have total violent crime down 3% is not enough for me, but I have to see it in the bigger picture and know that for me, that's about our ability to make progress. And how do we take that 3 to 10 to 15? How do we take the fact that we've had less people be shot in non-fatal shootings and build that up to the same thing for our homicides? And I think it's about both. It's about making sure that our police can do what they can do each and every day to remove people who in organizations, and we bolstered our federal partnerships and relationships in ways that we, quite frankly, the feds were iffy about before because of things that were happening in City Hall. Those instances are no longer there. Our police department now knows that they have someone that wants them to do those big investigations that will remove someone, not for a day, but will remove people for significant period of time from neighborhoods that will allow them to rebuild themselves.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Scott. Melanie, and then Ernesto. You're muted.
I'm muted. Hey, Mayor Scott, how are you? It's so great to see you. I just cannot thank you enough for this unprecedented investment in workforce development. When we last met with you, we asked you to please provide training, to provide training funding. You did that in a huge way. We asked you to please support transitional employment. You've done that in a huge way. You so understand the connection between crime and people feeling locked out of workforce development, out of jobs. And I just really applaud you for understanding that connection. I just really wanted to focus on something that, and I guess this is to encourage you to take a look at, and you're probably looking at it already. This is an issue that predated you completely. It's been an ongoing issue in Baltimore, and you're tackling so much. I hope you can tackle this one too. And that's, how do we get contracts out? How do we get money out the door to these nonprofit organizations, to these folks that have contracts with the city? You know, we see delays of, 6 months, 9 months, and, that just kills their cash flow. And, so then they'll come to philanthropy, which, we love supporting folks, but we can't bridge all those contracts, all those loans. And so what I'm hoping is that you'll put somebody on that. And this isn't assigning any blame, no agency. I think there's bottlenecks, I think, in a number of different places, but I'm just hoping that you're given that attention as all this money needs to then get dispersed.
No, yeah, thank you for that, Melon. And the answer is yes. This is something that I'm focused on in a few ways. And I'm going to put in a second an article in the charter, because you're right. When we got there, there was a huge backlog of folks that hadn't been paid by the city, right? And we know that how big that is. For example, we got there December, basically January. There was a $20.7 million of contracts that had not been out, and 2,000 invoices that were more than 30 days old. So I had already tasked our city administrator what we're doing now, and you'll see more about this coming up, I think, at BOE this week or the following. We're doing the whole procurement system over, right? The reality is that, and I'm only saying this because I know that unfortunately he's going to be leaving us soon, that Mr. Ernest Dorsey from MOED has been with us for most of my life, and the procurement system has not changed since he's been there, right? That's the reality. And when you're sending out contracts and doing contracts and procurement the same way now that you did in the 80s and 90s, you're doomed to fail. And when you think about something as small as, for example, working with our smaller businesses and local businesses, they don't get any benefit from or a increase for a value because they're from here. Right now, by charter, you have to go with the lowest responsible bidder, not what's the best value for the city, right? Not if Mr. Ernest is 150,000 and my bid is 100, and my company's located in, Pennsylvania, and only 20% of my employees work here. His is located here, and 80% of his work here. Yeah, that $50,000 more is better for the city. So we're doing the entire procurement system over, as my uncle in North Carolina would say, from the rooter to the tutor. We look forward to working with everyone to make sure as we go through that process that we're improving.
Thank you. And so I know we have one more question, and then I do, Mayor Scott, before you leave, want to just say some closing remarks and thank yous to you for the new board members that you've assigned to our board to continue to support you in your efforts and to really make sure that they're acknowledged. But I do want to let Ernesto ask his question, have you respond, make sure that we acknowledge and honor the folks that have been added to the board to continue to do this great work. Just moving forward a little bit more, Ernesto, you're on.
Thank you very much. I just want to commend you again on your efforts to push for the revitalization of our infrastructure and workforce in the city. It's great to see you again, Mr. Mayor. We had a wonderful conversation yesterday with Deputy Mayor Carter regarding the workforce development of the life sciences industry, which is one of the industries that is booming as a silver lining to the horrible situation that we're in. And part of that is being captured right here in Baltimore, which is incredibly exciting. And so this is one of the industries of the future. And so I'll be following up with him and his team and catching them up on all the wonderful things that are happening here.
I'm here. My video seemed to be messing up my sound, so I cut it off for a second. So no, thank you. I'm glad you had a great meeting with Ted. It is an industry that we're looking forward to helping to grow in the city. We also, like we know that tech. I had the opportunity to go over to Upsurge and Techstars last week to talk about all of those businesses that are growing here in the city. And it's about us supporting these industries that we know have the opportunity to grow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Scott. I know we're trying to honor your time unless you have a little extra time to share with us. For any additional questions, it would be remiss of me not to ask that question, but we do want to acknowledge and thank you for the new board members that you've approved to join, and just to call them out by name: Christopher McCoy, who's a general contractor and owner of CL McCoy Framing Corporation Company Incorporated. We're thankful for your participation. Linda M. Perry, founder and CEO of United Medical Care Limited Liability Corporation. Thank you. And Tanya Jones Terrell, Director of Corporate Community Impact of BGE. We're so grateful for your willingness to serve and support Mayor Scott, as we all are, in this great work that he is spearheading and leading. Just phenomenal work. So we thank you, and we thank you, Mayor Scott, for your continued support, for all of this work, and in us to support you. I know that we're a little over time, and again, I'm not sure if you have a couple more minutes just in case there are any other questions from the board. You can take one more. Thank you. Great. Any additional questions from the board for Mayor Scott while we have, his time? We appreciate you. And again, Sharon and everyone.
I had a quick question.
Great, thank you.
It's really generally around, are there initiatives or things that are being worked on to increase the ways in which we're able to access and support our immigrant population with varying levels of documentation to get employment or to just get access to training and some other things that we have access to just by our citizenship?
Absolutely, and thank you for that question. So my mayor's office of Immigrant Affairs, also known as MEMA, has done a great, actually, at our cabinet meeting last week. They were one of the ones that I personally lifted up for the work that they do, right? And making sure that our immigrant population, our refugee population, which is a big number here, especially in my neighborhood in Northeast, have those same opportunities. So MEMA actually is run by a young Catalina Rodriguez, who and her and I actually started as cubicle mates together as staffers. And so I remember when MEMA was just a thought in her head. And MEMA has done a great job of working and building relationships throughout city government, right? Making sure that MOED, I know that MOED, Jason and Catalina have a great opportunity to work with each other, all of our other agencies, so that the population has that access, but then building those connections with the partners too, like CASA and all these other folks who are doing this training and being really a supportive arm. So we're going to continue to build that work. We know that we're looking to help MEMA do some of the same things that Jason and them are doing, connecting people through OPERA and other opportunities. And that office is going to continue to have investment increase under me.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Scott. I also want to take this time to shout out to Ernest Dorsey with the phenomenal work. Ever since I've been in Baltimore working with Ernest and with everyone here, thank him for just all of his work, definitely with YouthWorks and all of the other supports that he's provided to the board, YouthWorks, all of his work in MOED, just to acknowledge him and honor him as he goes on to his great next. I'm sure he's not going to be too far, for we'll still be tapping into your skill and expertise, Ernest.
I know where he lives, so he can't escape
He
me.
can't go too far, right?
And
So,
he knows I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna embarrass him a little bit. One, he knows that I love him very much, but I don't know if the members of the board know that Mr. Ernest actually, as a Yo graduate myself, gave me my computer to go to college. So if it were not for this man, I probably wouldn't be mayor, because when you're coming from Park Heights and your family doesn't have that extra money to do that, the program meant so much to me. He knows that I'm going to miss him dearly because of the work that he did, not just for me, but so many people I know and so many people I didn't know in the city of Baltimore. And we're going to be celebrating him in a big way coming up. But I want to say, while we were on this board, that Mr. Ernest, you know that we greatly appreciate your work, your legacy. Well, we will make sure that it goes on. We're going to miss you, but we might pull you back in every now and again.
thank you. Thank you so very much, Mayor Scott and everyone. Please, Mayor Scott, stay well. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Know that we are your board. We have your back. Please do not hesitate to continue to let us know how we can continue to support and further your efforts, and we will continue to reach out to you to share. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Everybody have a good holiday season.
You do as well. Take care. All right, thank you, everyone. Moving forward with the agenda. At this point, I'd like to definitely ask Jason. We have, if you look at your agenda at this juncture, an ARPA update, and Jason, you and your team can take over, because shortly thereafter your update, we're going to go into breakout rooms. And we hope definitely that you have some robust conversation based on what the mayor has just shared. He's looking for us to challenge the status quo. There's great work going on, but there's probably more creative ideas and partnerships and the likes that we can continue to further this good work. These breakout sessions are an opportunity to continue to respond to his needs. So Jason, please go ahead. And if you have not yet, if you've just joined or joined recently, please make sure to add your name in the chat so we can make sure to have attendance. Jason.
Thanks, Yariella. And before we do that, we got interrupted in formally approving the minutes because this is a federally required board. If someone could just make a motion, a board member, and someone second it, just so we don't get in trouble down the road, that would be terrific.
So moved. This is Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Second.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks. Sorry, Yariella. I know we got
Oh yeah, we were right in the midst of that. So thank you, Jason. Take care. Go ahead.
Before I launch into ARPA, I can't let the moment go without also acknowledging Ernest. Ernest's last day for the board to know is actually the end of January. So MOED is fortunate to have some more time with him to soak up the godfather of youth workforce of Baltimore. And Ernest, you meant so much to me personally and to the agency and to young adults who you've been doing this long enough where, as the mayor said himself, some of the young adults at the time are not quite young adults anymore. So thank you for everything. And I'm sorry we're doing this virtually because it would just be better. Lots of stuff would be better in person, but to fully acknowledge your commitment and everything you've done. So thank you for that. I do want to follow up. I'm going to follow up a lot on the mayor. Oh, sorry. One more thing, one more acknowledgement. We have with us today a new member of MOED who will be leading our strategic initiatives division, Halani Sinkler. Halani actually doesn't start until January, so she's just coming on as a volunteer for today. But she will be leading that effort, and the reason it's important to mention you all is because she will be the primary contact for the board. So you in January will begin getting emails from her, and she'll be part of these board conversations and leading some of the efforts. So I just want to acknowledge Halani. Thank you so much for being with us. Halani comes to us. She's currently working with T. Rowe Price. She spent a number of years with Our Daily Bread Employment. She's amazing, and I can't wait to be able to work directly with her, and we'll all benefit from her leadership. But thank you for joining us. And again, I wanted to let you all know, since you'll be getting emails, we will send out an email in January to connect you, and you'll have her email address, but a little preview. So just to follow up on the mayor's point, and really what Melanie said, and the mayor's now gone, so it may hopefully not seem like I'm just sucking up to my boss, but I do want to acknowledge the moment. The mayor came to this board meeting last December. I think he had been on the job less than a week. Mayors don't often come to these board meetings, and so to come that soon after he was inaugurated was an important symbolic gesture that he really saw the importance of workforce development broadly. Symbolic gestures are great, but when you actually have the opportunity to invest, we all know that money speaks much more loudly than showing up to a meeting or words. And so I don't want us to take for granted, oh yes, there's ARPA and therefore there is money to invest. That is true, but I don't know how every city is investing their ARPA dollars, but I can tell you from the initial feedback I'm getting from my counterparts, this investment, we not only know it's the largest investment in Baltimore ever, but it's also not the kind of investment that other jurisdictions are choosing to make. And so I want to thank him, but I also want to thank you because it is your continued persistence and engagement with our leadership, this mayor, previous mayors, other elected officials, that helps make that happen. And I don't view it at all, and you'll hear this in a second, it's not an investment in MOED because we're spitting that money right back into the community. So it's investment in workforce. So thank you for that. And thank him for that. All right, enough on the thank yous. Let me show you a couple of things. One of them you've seen before, and I'm not going to show it for very long because you've seen it before. So this is a graphic of how we're utilizing our ARPA dollars. And I said I'm done with the thank yous, but I'm really not. I do want to acknowledge also that there's a number of MOED leaders who are on this call and staff. And I want to thank them both for the development of this strategy and in advance for implementing it. It's amazing to get these resources. Everyone had a full-time job and they're taking this on and running with it. And when you start hearing the details of this and how far we've already progressed from the mayor who announced it just a couple of weeks ago, I think you'll be impressed at how far we've run. And again, that is a testament to them. And again, there's unfortunately too many of you on this call to name. But please, when you go to your Zoom room, you'll see MOED team there. Please, share some love because again, it's a lot of work and it's exciting, but it's a lot. Okay, so you've seen this graphic before. I'm going to actually switch to a different graphic, but the point of this, we sometimes refer to this sort of as our bumblebee graphic. The way it looks. We don't, when we get into these specific strategies and we break into the Zoom rooms, we don't want to think of these as, we always talk about breaking down silos, right? In every kind of meeting, whether you're talking about workforce or education or transportation, it's always about breaking down silos. I don't want these to look like silos, or we don't want these to look like silos. And we actually played with, maybe they should be concentric circles, but it didn't really quite make sense. So I guess this point of the graphic, before I switch to a different one that dives a bit deeper, is just to make sure that you all know, first of all, in a single picture, you can see how they all fit together. And again, they're meant to work together. It's about building a system, right, of different strategies. And if they're exclusive and running as separate streams, then we didn't capture everything we wanted to do in developing this. So let me switch graphics on you just so you can see, and we can talk a little bit more detail. And you might think of this as, oops, I may have to stop sharing and then come back. You may think of this as sort of the appetizer for your Zoom room conversations, which are going to dive in more deeply. Okay, so here's more text that we're going to just talk about briefly here. And again, the Zoom rooms will get into this in detail. I do want to make sure that These are not just strategies that we, came up with. We are guided by economic justice, which we have as an agency defined. You can see the definition here. It stays with us in everything that we do. And when we think about our strategies and continuing strategies, we are making sure that they are committed to that criteria. Now let me go quickly through these. Again, high level, more deep dive in the Zoom rooms. Train up. The mayor referenced it. You'll hear more about it in the Train Up Zoom room, but it is based heavily on One Baltimore for Jobs. For those board members that were with us in the 2015 to 2017 range, you will recall it was a system building initiative that's a mix of not only occupational training, but it also separate but related initiatives around community connections, adult literacy, behavioral health, and legal services. And that's what this is. And we are, the mayor, as part of his transition team, they identified bringing back 1B4J. You all have talked to this mayor and quite honestly, previous mayors about that. This mayor is using his resources to make that happen. We have made a lot of progress. We're about to make the most significant investment in occupational training ever in the city. And again, I'm just sort of teasing what'll come out in the Zoom room, but it is very, very close to, we've identified the partners for the training and we're very close to making that announcement. It'll train a lot of folks. Higher up, Melanie referenced this in her questions and comments to the mayor. This is a transitional work program. It's based on Baltimore Health Corps, which was also and is also a transitional work program where we put people to work as contact tracers. This is different in that it's putting people to work in a variety of capacities at different agencies with the Department of Public Works, with Rec and Parks, Downtown Partnership, MOED, soon to be Parking Authority, and many others. It's about getting people to work quickly in a job and then providing them the support services, again, the ones we just talked about, which are part of what we do in building a system around legal and behavioral health services and navigation services. This one is already running. We've had 39 slots created. We want to get to at least 50 as a steady state. And again, these are meant to turn over. They're not forever jobs. So they're meant to turn over so that the next group of 50 can come on and the next group of 50 can come on. And then get the job, do the public good, and then transition to permanent employment. They all pay at least $15 an hour and already running. The next one we'll touch on briefly is the wage subsidy for small minority and women-owned businesses. This is a strategy that we at MOED have never engaged in before. We're working closely when we talk about silo busting, working closely with the Baltimore Development Corporation. Nancy Jordan Howard is a member of the board. I didn't check to see if she's here on this call this morning. This one this one may be on the BOE agenda on Wednesday, which means that we can actually start providing the subsidies in January. We have the application portal done. We just haven't put it out for a public because until it's approved by the board, we can't actually make the payments. This is one of the deep dives you can do in the Zoom rooms to follow. And again, without stealing their thunder, the reason going back to economic justice, the reason we chose to invest this way, the reason the mayor chose to invest this way is one, because small minority and women-owned businesses were particularly damaged by COVID. And B, their research says that they're more likely to both hire local and hire people of color than other businesses. YouthWorks, we all know and love. This is a major investment in providing youth wages. Again, when we talked about how this is not an investment in MOED, it's an investment in workforce in general. This is, we talked about Train Up, and that's putting money into community-based nonprofits. Higher Up is paying wages. The small business subsidy is reimbursing employers. YouthWorks is paying youth. And there are a couple of elements of this initiative that are allowing us to do a couple of things differently. You'll hear more about this, but we will have a youth advisory committee and a YouthWorks Academy that's aimed to more intensively prepare young people for private sector opportunities in the summer. Again, that's another Zoom room that they'll dive deeper. The rideshare transportation pilot, I so appreciate Marty's comment and question to the mayor. All of us that work in workforce and employers, residents, everyone is frustrated with the transportation challenge in Baltimore. It is real. It limits opportunity. It limits opportunity for residents to obtain, get to, keep jobs that are not there's no access to. It limits employers from finding the talent pool that they need. So this pilot is not a forever fix because MOD can't build a red line or things like that. But what we can do in the short term, because people need to work today, is to partner with a rideshare program that allows people to get to and from work for up to 30 days. It's a pilot that we're doing. This is part of when the mayor talked about the ARPA strategy of testing out strategies to see if they work, with the idea being that if they do work, we got to find a way to keep them going. Apprenticeships, again, as a workforce agency and as you all on the board, we've talked a lot about apprenticeship over the years. It's a tried and true strategy. It's earn and learn. It comes with people acquiring an industry recognized credential that they have forever. And this is a way to invest in both the people who will become apprentices and the employers themselves, because it allows them to create apprenticeships by subsidizing the creation of that. I just want to double back. Apprenticeship and the Small Minority and Women-Owned Business Initiative under Yvette Clark. YouthWorks is under Ernest Dorsey. Rideshare really under Craig Lewis. And Train Up, we will bring on a new director, but it's really in the director's office. Okay, last two, and then we'll move it on. Grads to Careers is another initiative we've talked a lot about in this at the board level. It's an initiative that we partner. It's supporting and continuing in a current initiative in which partnering with the school system. Thank you, Dr. Pfeiffer, and Baltimore's Promise, to target high school seniors who are not planning to go to college and don't have a firm employment plan. Instead, the data tells us that they are at high risk for becoming an opportunity youth. The data tells us the outcomes for them 6 years later is grim. So instead of waiting for them to turn 24, 25, or trying to find them once they've left school, let's go into the schools with the school system and Baltimore's Promise. Let them know about their opportunities for free occupational training and attach them to a career path early. So this is increasing that investment. And the numbers here I should have said, or you can see them. And the last is around Job Hub and mobile staff expansion. We have 3 job hubs already. We should probably talk more about that as a board, especially in a pandemic when it's harder for folks to, they're less comfortable leaving their community. It's a great strategy to literally meet people where they are. We found success with the hubs we have now. And this allows us to expand partnerships. Rashim asked about how we're engaging with the immigrant community. This is a great way to find trusted neighborhood organizations where we send a staff person there. They work out of that building, but we're doing so under the umbrella of that organization. So when we talk about how do we build a system, this is how all of these partnerships get developed. And the mobile hub idea is that while some would have enough residents who are coming through to be stationed there a full week, others maybe don't. This allows us to touch more neighborhoods by having staff literally hit different neighborhoods during the course of a day to provide services. So Yariela, that's my quick broad view. Again, we are going to be in Zoom rooms where you guys can ask lots of questions about those more specifically, but I'll pause it there.
Thank you, Jason. There was a question in the chat about making sure we can get your presentation that you just shared, if we could get that sent out to everyone, if that's possible.
It should be in the attachment for this invite. If you didn't get it, please post something in the chat. I know we get other, this is a public session, so folks can just join, which is great. We're all happy to get it out to anyone.
Great. Thank you. And then Perhaps we'll have Sharon and Chantrice. We're at the juncture where we'll go into the breakouts. About 20 minutes time in the breakouts. Just a little bit, the breakout leaders, facilitators will direct that conversation, those questions, and then we'll come back out after 20 minutes and we'll have report outs from each group based on the conversations that you've had. And then we'll continue on with the agenda. So Sharon and Chantrice, we can take it away.
If I can just say, oh, maybe they can.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say, we chose these rooms. We couldn't do every ARPA strategy because we thought we would end up they would be broken and fragmented into too many small conversations. And we sort of had to, just because we're in a Zoom room, you can't walk into a room that is most interesting to you. We sort of had to pre-select you. We did the best we could. So please engage. This is really important. It gets back to the mayor's point about how we engage and make sure that we're doing the right thing. None of these strategies, all of these strategies can be adjusted, and we fully anticipate adjusting them along the way, course correcting, et cetera. So please, we need you. It's not just a board meeting. We really need your engagement and thoughts.
And if you have not been assigned to a room, just stay in this general room. We will put you in one of them. And then again, if you're coming in with a phone number, please put your name in the chat with your phone number so we know that that's you, and then we'll work out your being in a breakout room. So Sharon and Chantrice, please take it away.
Okay. Rooms are open. You will get a message. Just click to be assigned to your room.
Okay, there's a note from Joseph Kim. Where's Joseph? I guess we put Joseph, Joseph, a wage and subsidy. Good, he went.
Everyone should be assigned. It should be, if you're not in the correct room, just come back. You see your room?
Sharon, this is Rachel. I should be assigned to the train up room rather than small wage,
Okay.
because I'm leading that one.
Okay, I'm putting you in there.
That was a last minute change. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I think we have Roseanne and Robert Embry that need to be assigned to a room or placed in their room.
Rachel, you just have to have joined. That's if you're already there. I think you're frozen. Robert is in. You have to just hit join.
I think he's focused on something else. If we can see him. Bob, can you just put him there, Sharon?
He has to. Let me try. Say move to. I'm just looking to. He still has to join. Let me see if I can put him there.
Bob,
I have.
Can you unmute him?
I'm asking him to unmute. He's not. Yeah. I have someone in the waiting room who's just joining.
Who's that? Okay.
Alani, hi, this is Michael. I should be in the Community Job Hubs room with Craig.
Which room were you in?
Higher up.
Okay.
Yes. And so does Althea is supposed to be in the same room I'm in.
And which room is that? I'm sorry, repeat that.
The Community Job Hub is being led by Craig Lewis.
You putting me in joint wage subsidy for small businesses?
No, a lot. Althea should be in the same room I'm in with.
Yeah, I'm
community
moving
hub.
her now to community hubs.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you heard me. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
there you go.
Okay.
No, you're fine.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Mr. Welch, you should have, both of you should have the message to just join the room. Great, do you see it?
No,
No,
I
you don't
just
see it
see
yet?
it's an arrow. Wait a minute. Let me open my screen up.
Okay.
No, I don't see.
sure what I'm
Can
saying?
you see me right here?
I can see you in the main room, yes, but I
Right.
see your screen. But I do see that you have to just join the room.
I don't see where.
You don't see, okay, let me move you.
They're saying join
here.
the room.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can jump in when you.
Bob, would you join your room? Your breakout room? Can you hear us?
No, I see something that says Sharon Harris. Okay, got it.
Got it? Okay, great. Okay.
Okay, I guess he left, or maybe he joined the room.
He joined his room. He joined his room.
And can you redo my sign? I wanted to just hang out just in case.
Okay, you're going into room 3. We're gonna make sure all you have to do is join. It's not called, let me go back.
Oh, I see. Never mind.
You see it?
It's the
All right.
breakout room down there. Got you.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Sharon.
Okay, Sharon, did you feel any better?
No,
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's the worst.
it's okay.
Okay, well, I'll hang out here in case there's anyone else that comes back.
I'm still going to stay around. I've been adding people.
Yeah, let me tell you, you in that with that waiting room was a tremendous help.
Oh, not a problem.
Oh my goodness. I appreciate that so much. Okay, I'm gonna mute for a moment. Hello. I kicked out. Okay, I'll put you in. I gotta see which breakout room you were in. Number one. Hold on one second. You should see the option to join your breakout room. Hello.
Hello, can you put me back? My computer went down. I was in the
Okay.
job hub. Sorry.
Which one, the community hub, job hub?
Yes, yes.
Okay, hold on one second. There you go.
And thank you again.
You're welcome. Hello. And which breakout room are you in?
So this is Willie Moore, and I literally just signed into the meeting. So clearly you all are in breakout rooms, and I have not participated in the last hour. So I have no idea
Okay.
what's going on. My apologies.
No problem. I'll just put you in a room. Hold 1 second. You can join the conversation.
Thanks.
Hi. Oh, he went back up. Okay. Hello.
How you doing? I was in a ride share group.
The right chair. I'll put you back there.
Thank you.
There you go.
Sharon, it says time is up for the 15 minutes breakout rooms.
Yeah, it should be. I did extend it because they got like 5 or 10 more minutes, so it should not let them. They shouldn't come out yet.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, Chantrice, I'm going to close the rooms now. Everyone should be coming back in about a minute.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if everyone, we were in the throes of some more robust conversation. Sorry, we may need to be given a little bit more time, not to say that we won't have an opportunity to do this again, but what might be helpful now, because we didn't even have a chance to designate a report out person, we were still chatting, but Jason, Chantrice, as you have your maybe it's the facilitator that can lead the report out for each of the groups, and I'll look to you to call out by breakout room who should kind of move forward so we can have an understanding of how the conversations went in the breakouts. Thank you.
Sure. If I'm just going to go in the order in which they're listed on the agenda. If the folks who are in the train up breakout want to report out, that would be great.
Sure. So I'm Rachel Brash. We talked about Train Up, and just as a reminder, the main components of Train Up are occupational training, and approximately 2,000 people will receive training over the course of 3 years. That also includes behavioral health services, legal health services, literacy services, and then a community connectors component that will allow for neighborhood outreach and services. So I think our conversation mainly was around the providers themselves. There were 17 selected providers, and there were some concerns about we know that within the system, there's a limited number of providers. So, some may have had stronger performance in the past, some performed well. All of these performed well in our selection process, in the competitive selection process that was just, that closed. So just thinking about what we can do to support providers and look critically at them as they come online. And then, just thinking about the metrics and keeping on top of metrics as we move through the grant period. Do others want to add in? Yeah. And I would say, one of the things we talked about was that, and as Jason said, this is based on One Baltimore for Jobs. With 1B4J, we also we modeled grads to careers on 1B4J. So these are iterations of a model. And so, this one builds on both of those, and it adds in components that like mental health that we weren't able to include in 1B4J, but that we did include in Grads to Careers, and we did include in the Baltimore Health Corps. We're very pleased that, and we saw in the Baltimore Health Corps, interestingly, that uptake was really high on that. It was voluntary, and we had at least, it was about 66% of the people in the Health Corps, participated in that. And so that's just, it's an indication of the hard times that we're living in. And so, it's great that we'll be able to include that.
Thanks, Train Up folks. And I would just say, just for the board, we're going to do this like 1B4J, where we will come back. We are going to be very open. And so we'll be posting the results at board meetings in terms of the outcomes of these grants. We will be monitoring carefully if a provider, we hope everyone's wonderful, but we'll be providing TA for providers that are maybe hitting some speed bumps, and year 2 funding is contingent on year 1 performance. And we will make adjustments as need be, just like we did with 1B4J, just like we're doing with Grads to Careers. All right, job hubs, Mr. Lewis.
Good morning, everyone. Craig Lewis with MOED, and I was privileged to lead the breakout discussion on our community job hub initiative, as well as our mobile staff. And we were really just getting in the thick of our discussion. And so, but one observation that came up from the group was to make sure that and by the way, let me just back up. So our community job hub model, we're expanding in 5 communities. And as Jason said earlier, this is where we take our services into the community, working with trusted neighborhood partners who have traffic in their centers. And we're just bringing workforce services. And so one of the observations from our group was to make sure that our selection process, that there's equity, and that we're looking at neighborhoods most in need. And even if organizations may not have responded to our interests, that we seek out those organizations because we know that there's a need. And so if there's others from our committee, that our breakout group, that want to come on and share a comment or two or thought or two, please do.
Jason, Willie here, and glad to come in, albeit late, but it struck me just through the RFP process, it may feel a little backwards in that we're trying to serve those most in need, and those communities that may be lacking in resources may be the ones who are least aware of the RFP process. And so as opposed to having that RFP process for those to respond, maybe we look at it in another way and to define those areas of highest need and have MOED reach out to them as opposed to looking for respondents, if that makes sense.
And I'd like to add, I'm out there with Sponsor Court. We didn't get to defining success, but even as we grow these community hubs, that we're careful on how we define success with them, because we'll oftentimes be trying to serve those who have not had the opportunities. And so how we place them in jobs may not be the usual standard way in which we define success when we're talking about employment.
Awesome. Anyone else from our breakout group? All right, back to you, Jason.
Thanks, Craig. All right, Youth Works, Ernest, Rashim.
Rasheen, you want to take it or me?
I'll let you take it.
Just a quick overview. Youth Works starting in June. The goal is to serve 8,000 young people, hopefully to go back to in-person on-site. What is new this year with that is the Academy, YouthWorks Academy that Jason briefly described. The intent is really to work with a group of 100 young people to give them the skills that to hopefully increase our placement rate in the private sector. We're fortunate to have JP Morgan, who's going to be working with about 40 of the 12th graders in that component. And then Rashi is creating an advisory group of young people that will be able to provide feedback and some advice regarding how the summer jobs program is rolled out. During the session, some really good suggestions in terms of how do we engage more private sector employers. One suggestion was that we create some job specs so that employers could get a feel of the kinds of jobs that young people could do. Another suggestion was holding some sessions with private sector employers to give them some ideas of how they could utilize young people working in their sites, as well as really pitching it as a preparing their future workforce. And also how to market to the private sector in terms of most private sector start their budget development in May and June for the following year. And then we also need to make sure that we are targeting the right people in that company, like the government affairs people, economic development people. And so we also got a commitment from a person to help us with making some of those connections. Anybody else like to chime in from that group?
The one thing that I'll add as this continues to develop as we look at companies is also to align the program's participants' interest with those organizations. So for instance, Comcast NBC, it's a media technology company. In the intake process, understanding what the participants' interest is, if it's media technology, if it's social work, directing them towards the organizations that will cause the participants to be really engaged because it's connected with what they are most interested in.
And I just want to echo the point that Marcia Nettis raised in our group, which is that it's just a really great opportunity to grow your worker, right? So that, and Ernest touched on this as well, that it can be a longer term, beyond the 5 weeks, that they can stay with you for summers or for year round, that it's an opportunity to really help grow your staff members.
Great, sounds like good stuff. Yvette, want to talk to us about the wage subsidy?
Yeah, I'll kick it off and well, Joseph, go ahead and kick it off and then I got your back. How about that?
Sure. Hi, my name is Joseph. This is my first time joining the board meeting, so I just wanted to start out with an introduction. I'm the project manager for the new wage subsidy program for the small business owned by minority and women. Just to give a recap of the program, it's a program to help with small businesses who are owned by minority women to hire more Baltimore residents. And we will be supporting up to $6,000, well, supporting $6,000 per hire, up to 3 people per businesses that are located in Baltimore City. So, excuse me. So during the breakout room discussion, I think it was great to have actually a lot of resources that was suggested. A lot of people suggested like themselves as resource or giving us a point of contacts to contact as well, and also has some great questions as well. Yvette, do you want to add up?
Yep, in addition to that, we talked a little bit about the spirit behind this initiative. And some clarifications. We did define what a minority is. It is a small business. It is 51% of that business must be owned by a minority or a woman to obtain the funds. We also had a great question about could this program be used for other things like marketing or promotional materials or campaigns? No, it is for wages. And then we talked about could an employer possibly apply for this initiative and maybe another initiative that we're launching like the apprenticeships? Yes, they're two different things. So that was the answer to that. I have to shout out Ernesto. He's always been a valuable resource for introducing us to other partners, and we have successfully done that. But we have talked about some partners to raise awareness and to target small businesses by communicating with the Mayor's Office of Small Minority and Women-Owned Businesses, Commerce, BDC, and like Joseph mentioned, some of the others on the call would be a resource for us. And of course, our MOEDs, existing employer partners who are small businesses that we've been working with for quite a few years. But the spirit behind this initiative, I wanted to state, is that we want this to be sustainable. You know, it's an opportunity for an employer to grow by hiring and training someone. And, you know, we'd like to take wages off the table for a little while they're doing that, to make sure that it's a good match for them both, and that they actually, you know, can get a job and that will lead to a career in that occupation or industry. And it, you know, it is an incredible opportunity, and I'm excited about this one the most because it is not a program where you have to go through a lot of red tape to access the funds. And it's something that small business needs right now. So any questions about that? Or is there anything else that anyone in our group would like to contribute? Thank you.
So that, and then for group 5, which was around transportation subsidy, I was leading that group, but I passed the baton over to Marty, who would sort of summarize what folks talked about.
Sure. So I think what, you know, partially we came away from is the idea of transportation is incredibly complex and expensive, and it's been difficult to challenge forever. No one's really resolved it. This program is a great program for a short-term solution, with the hopes that there'll be something on the back end that will be able to either work out, or the employee will be able to work out. It provides 30 days of transportation through a Lyft program with a $20 cap on a ride. The rides are restricted to Baltimore City. You know, some of the things that came out of it, our discussion, one is that there'll be a lot of data collected that can be looked at on the back end to see maybe where people are traveling to, what neighborhoods they're coming from. Is there some potential solutions that can be provided through a van service? You know, once we identify how many people might be going to a specific location, like from a certain neighborhood to Amazon or to the port or whatever. There's a lot of concern around what happens after that 30-day period. You know, are employers going to not hire folks because they know there's only 30 days worth of transportation? And then what happens after that? They are, you know, opportunities in the counties that potentially can't be addressed because the funding isn't really there. So, you know, I think for a 30-day period, this is a great opportunity. It gives folks a chance to build up some wages so that they can hopefully identify some other transportation opportunities that they can take advantage of. Anybody? Yes.
Do we have, I mean, this is not a new issue. So are there existing transportation patterns or demands based on employer locales and shifts where people are working? I don't know if we've gathered information in that kind of fashion. I can know, like in healthcare, it's a 24/7 gig, right? There's certain shifts that it's harder for folks to get to because if public transportation isn't available, and that's a need. you know, it's a bit of a challenge there. And I'm excited about the concept. This could be something where we create some entrepreneurs and create jobs if we have, based on that data, some targeted van shuttle service that we can spark, get some entrepreneurs and a team of folks that would create jobs, but then focus that in those areas and during those timeframes where we don't have public transportation access, or it's hard, so that we can, so that then employers can feel confident that the investment in this hire, which would be a great hire while we're trying to deal with this more long-term situation, that there's something beyond the 30 days, because that's going to be a problem, I think, for private employers who may want to hire someone, but this is a long-term issue, the transportation, that would make it very hard for them to truly be employer ready for the job that they're there. So hopefully we can move more quickly in setting up that kind of opportunity so that we can extend this 30-day and really continue to address the more long-term transportation issues with this business piece with shuttles, new shuttle lines or new shuttle services.
I mean, Yariel, we've looked at that for years and you know, tried to launch a couple different pilot programs that would address that transportation issue through van service, through providing, you know, some of the lower income neighborhoods with a transportation expert in the neighborhood that they could rely on, that they could go to, that could help them identify how to get to the job and then put some of those transportation opportunities in place. Yeah, I think there's some potential solutions that need to be thought through. I think this is a great short-term solution that we can get people back and forth. They can get established in a job, you know, and find out if they're going to stay there for more than a 30-day period. But you know, I think the group that we were with kind of had the same feeling, that what do we do after that 30 days and how do we get something in place? And, you know, it's something that Jason and his team has certainly thought through and, you know, understand that that's some of the limitations to this thing.
This is Aaron Thompson from Starbucks. If it would be helpful, we've been running a Lyft partnership at Starbucks for quite some time now. And to kind of piggyback off your question, Urella, for us, the way it works is it's designated timeframes that our partners are able to use the ride shared service with Lyft. So it's for shifts before 6 a.m. and they get a $20 credit up to 20 rides per month through that program. And then it's for shifts, I think, that they need to leave at 9 p.m. or later. So basically, typically it covers usually at least one ride per shift for employees around those times. And it's been viewed based off of safety timeframes for us, where it's safer for our employees to get those rides. But two thoughts that I would have is, how is there a way to do a blended partnership with employers that want that services so they can put skin in the game and help fund in some capacity if they want that service in partnership with the city? I don't know if that's even possible, but I could also find out who is the project manager for that for us at Starbucks, if that would be helpful, and put you all in contact with them just to help understand how we've arranged that program
and what your current salary is, and that way, as we
Aaron, that's a great.
Go ahead, Aaron. Sorry, Jason, go ahead.
I was just saying, we'd love to reach out to you or the right person to learn from what you guys are doing. We did mention in our group that this is based in part off of something the city did very early in the pandemic with helping residents get to and from grocery stores. And that was done successfully. So we're sort of borrowing some of those lessons learned, but I know that there's other lessons, and it came up in our group about some other group organizations that had run transportation pilots. So folks who have both on this particular thing, but on other things, we would look, we're trying to learn this and build the plan as we fly it, all of that. So we will reach out for sure.
Yeah, and who's responsible for that for you all?
It's Mackenzie Garvin is working closely with Craig Lewis
Okay.
and team.
Okay, cool. And I'll do some research today and try to get some context going from my end.
If you're pulling together a team, I'm looking in the chat about employers that already provide shuttle service and things like that. We can get whoever leads our transportation to join some sort of conversation about how that might be expanded or advice for other employers to do that. And if that's the direction, just let us know, you know. Is there anything? I think those are all of the subcommittee report outs. Just a call for any additional statements. I think this is great information. Exactly what the mayor is hoping and looking for as we continue to improve on just sort of the great work that's happening right now. So thank you, everyone. We only have a few more minutes. If there's nothing additional, why don't we go right to the MOED update, city employment workforce stats, brief, what Jason and his team would like to present just to keep us abreast of what's been happening in that space.
Sure, happy to do it. I have two quick series of slides. The first is just some workforce data more generally. We thought rather than trying to cover the whole landscape in crazy little time, we would sort of zero in on one. I guess it's really sort of two data points. We're actually going to be doing this is something new for us where we're actually going to do this more publicly. Like you'll see it on our website. The analyst who did this unfortunately couldn't be with us this morning, so I'm filling in for his great work. But let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so there's obviously lots and lots of data, and the reason we're doing this as an agency is we're sort of realizing that it's kind of a gap in the knowledge base, or no one's sort of commenting more generally on workforce data. So this is not data about MOED. This is data about what's happening in our city, and it's comparing pre-pandemic to current. So pre-pandemic, February 2020. Most people in the US at least would say that the pandemic really hit in March. So February is just before. October is the most recent month for which there is data for the Department of Labor. And so what you see is an unemployment rate is still way up. It was at one point over 11%. So it's down from the high, but still significantly above where we were. The unemployed population, again, these are city stats, right? Also high. The number of people who are employed, so don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but there's some questions about whether the unemployed metric is the right metric to look at and whether you should really be looking at employed rather than unemployed. That is also down, but not down at the same in the same sort of range. But what you see is actually jobs themselves have returned to Baltimore. And that is the sort of surprising, maybe the surprising number. And then the other one that's surprising is that the average weekly wage is currently, average is key here, is pretty flat, right? So even though we're experiencing inflation, what we're seeing is a lot of residents' wages themselves, particularly the population that we're more likely to be serving, they're not necessarily experiencing that wage bump. And again, we're showing this to you because we think it's both important for our work, our shared work, but also maybe not what people expect. So, sorry. Okay.
Jason, just out of curiosity, what's the difference between total employed and the total jobs? Why are they different?
Uh-oh. You're asking me a question where I'm wishing my analysts were here. I think the employed could be people, let me think, it has something to do with multiple jobs, right? So someone can be working two jobs, obviously.
Okay.
Okay. And then you see what's in the numbers. I basically just sort of, I think I covered this already. So moving on, here's a more, this is just showing that the unemployment, people who are applying for unemployment, obviously it spiked crazy high in the early days of the pandemic. It stayed high for a while. It's back down to essentially to pre-pandemic levels. That probably doesn't surprise folks. And here's just again showing that wages have been really pretty flat, right? My screen is a bit covered by that. You can see that it did spike, but that it's gone back down pretty much to where it was. Again, I think that surprised me, and that's why we wanted to talk to you all about it, because I think there's a different perception that everyone in Baltimore is benefiting by, people aren't benefiting by inflation. Let me just not say it that way, but that wages are on the rise. And so this is sort of our informal takeaway, right? A lot of folks lost their jobs. Jobs have generally returned, but Baltimore City residents are not experiencing that benefit of the jobs coming back at the same level. This is, well, I'll come back to sort of what we're doing about it. Again, wages went up during the pandemic, but then sort of have leveled back. Some of the supports that were available federally are gone or going away, and that folks were maybe pushed back into the labor force when some of those supports went away. And that's, again, for our work, and I want to sort of tie this to all the things that we're doing during the pandemic. Again, it ties together, right? That's why we have to make sure that we're doing things like job training, apprenticeship, all of the workforce supports, so that our workforce is competitive and more competitive, and essentially first in line when there is a job open and last in line when someone has to get laid off. So we just wanted to share that with you. Again, in the time that we have, thought it made sense to just focus on one topic. And again, you will see this from us, not something we used to do. Now we will be doing it periodically, putting out information like this when it seems right. So Linda, absolutely, we will send this out. It will actually pop up soon. We'll be sharing it through social media as well.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. And these next few updates, we started a little bit at the beginning of the meeting membership. We thankfully, and thanks to the mayor again, want to welcome our new board members, all from the employer sector, where we needed to add participation from the employer sector. And we'll follow up just to make sure, I think with these new additions, that from our bylaws and our standards, that we should be on point with our composition that we have to report to the state and the feds in terms of our composition of membership. And we'll follow up with on that. We're continuing conversations. Again, just a brief announcement just to keep it on everyone's radar, knowing that this is also a part of the mayor's plan for the city with economic justice, and having a learning opportunity a little bit more in depth for the volunteer board members of the board to participate in this, aligning with what the city has already done in some spaces, and in particular with MOED with their staff. And then the committee updates in the meeting minutes, in the email appointment are the documents highlighting committee updates. And I'm not sure if folks have had an opportunity to review those. And if they have any questions for any of the committee members, but I'd like to take the last few minutes to address that, and or something that we've been adding to our last few meetings, any announcements or updates that any of our board members have based on their roles in workforce development that would be helpful for the rest of the the team to be aware of. So I'll pause there and see if folks have questions about what has been shared thus far, questions for any of the subcommittee members and the reports that were included in the appointment. And if you're from your particular organization, if you have updates that you think would be beneficial for the group to hear. I'll pause for a moment. And I totally agree. Okay. Okay. If not, we have 5 minutes back to your life on Friday from here. Thank you so much for your participation. Hopefully next year this time we could do something in person with some food and some camaraderie to really celebrate the year. But I want to thank you definitely for your participation, your support. There's been a lot that's happened this past year and all that we've been dealing with. And this is a team that is phenomenally engaged. And there's a lot more that we need to do. And we just definitely appreciate your support and efforts. Happy holidays to everyone. Be safe and go well. Thank you.
Happy
Oh,
holidays.
JC.
Thank you.
Okay.
Happy holidays.
Happy holiday.
Happy
Holiday.
everybody.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody. Be blessed.